Welcome to a chapter a day. Listen to me closely. Manifestation is alignment, and alignment is a process. If you follow that process, step by step, your external reality must change. Not because you hope it will, not because you wish it will, but because reality has no choice but to respond to a mind that is clear, certain, and emotionally aligned. Everything you want already exists. The only question is, are you being the version of yourself that allows it? Most people fail at manifesting for one reason. They want the outcome, but they keep living in contradiction. They visualize but doubt. They desire but resist. They affirm but emotionally rehearse failure. This audiobook will end that pattern permanently. Over the next chapters, you are going to learn exactly how to manifest, from start to finish, without confusion, without force, without obsession. You will learn how to choose a desire correctly, how to think about it without sabotaging it, how to feel it into existence, and how to release it so it can arrive faster than logic allows. This is not about chasing. This is about becoming. Because the moment your identity matches the outcome appears. Not eventually, not someday, but naturally. So as you listen, don't just hear these words. Let them reprogram you. You are not here to try. You are here to decide. And once you decide, reality follows. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Decide what you want. No more vague desires. You are not unclear because you are confused. You are unclear because you have not decided. And that distinction changes everything. Clarity is not something you discover. Clarity is something you choose. Right now, your life already proves this law. What you experience consistently is what you have been clear about emotionally, not verbally. Your current reality is not random. It is precise. It is exact. It is the byproduct of what has been most familiar to you internally. This is why manifestation in of itself does have a recipe. And the first ingredient is decision. Not preference. Not interest. Not curiosity. Decision. Most people say they want more money, better relationships, creative freedom, confidence, peace. But listen closely. They don't decide. They hover. They say, I want more money, but I don't know how. They say, I want love, but I'm scared. They say, I want freedom, but what if it doesn't work? That is not clarity. That is emotional negotiation. And reality does not respond to negotiation. Reality responds to precision. The reality that you wish to experience is a very specific reality. It is not abstract. It is not vague. It is not something better. It is exact. Think about how you move through the world when you already know. When you know where you're going, your body relaxes. Your mind stops scanning. Your emotions stabilize. That state is not accidental. That state is alignment. This is why vague desires produce vague results. Because vagueness keeps you emotionally undecided. And indecision is a signal. It tells reality, I'm not ready yet. Let me ground this. If you go on Amazon and type kettle, what happens? You get thousands of options. Different sizes. Different prices. Different materials. Amazon doesn't choose for you. It waits until you decide. You don't manifest a kettle by wanting a kettle. You manifest a kettle by selecting which one. Color, size, price, delivery speed. Specificity is not control. Specificity is cooperation. The same is true here. You cannot say, I want abundance, and expect reality to guess what that means emotionally. Abundance of what? How does it change your daily life? What problem does it remove? This is not about obsession. It's about clarity. Think of Google Maps. If you open Google Maps and type London, what happens? It zooms out. It gives you options. It does not move you. Movement begins when you enter the exact destination. Street, number, location. Then the route appears. This is the part people misunderstand. They think clarity limits magic. In reality, clarity activates it. Your job is not to create the route. Your job is to set the destination. This is why your desire has to match your conviction, and your conviction has to match your desire. If you want something but feel unsure, the signal is mixed. If you feel certain but keep changing the desire, the signal is unstable. Reality mirrors stability. Now listen carefully. You are not here to decide everything. You are here to decide one thing, one primary outcome. Because divided focus is delayed manifestation. When you want 10 things at once, you emotionally anchor none of them. Your nervous system stays in scanning mode. And scanning mode is survival, not creation. So this chapter is about discipline. The discipline to choose once. And stop revisiting the decision. Decide once. Stop revisiting the decision. This does not mean you force belief. It means you stop reopening the question. Your first thought might be doubt. That's normal. You cannot control your first thought, but you can control your second thought. The second thought is where decision lives. The second thought says, I've already chosen. The second thought says, this is no longer up for debate. The second thought restores emotional order. This is how manifestation actually starts. Let me give you a real example. A client once said they wanted to make $200,000 in a month. Their business was making around $30,000 monthly. Logically, it didn't add up. If they had decided how it had to happen, they would have capped themselves. They would have said, it has to come from my business. That belief would have closed every other door. But they didn't do that. They decided the outcome. They decided the number. And then they released the route. What happened? They invested in crypto. Unexpectedly. Calmly. Without force. That investment returned $200,000. Not because crypto is magic, but because decision created openness. Expecting money to come only through one channel is not clarity. It's limitation. Decision is about what, not how. This is where most people sabotage themselves. They say, I want more money, but it has to come through my business. They say, I want love, but it has to look like this. They say, I want success, but only if it feels safe. That's not decision. That's control. And control creates resistance. Manifestation is internally shifting to a degree to which you're no longer emotionally dependent upon seeing reality change. Decision creates that shift. Because once you decide, you stop checking. You stop asking. You stop negotiating. You simply live as someone who knows. Here's another grounded example. Someone watches these teachings and applies them to their business. Before, they were hoping for sales. Watching analytics. Emotionally reactive. Then they decide. Not, I hope this works. But this works. They choose a specific outcome. A specific number. A specific expectation. Sales jump. From 30 uses of a promo code to over 120. Nothing magical happened. They stopped wavering. Their desire matched their conviction. And their conviction matched their desire. That's the law. So what do you do now? You choose one outcome. Not 10. One. You define it clearly. You make it specific enough that your body understands it. You don't need affirmations yet. You don't need visualization yet. You need decision. And then you practice this. When doubt arises, you don't argue with it. You replace it. You cannot control your first thought, but you can control your second thought. The second thought is always, I've already decided. This is not rigidity. This is stability. And stability is magnetic. Decide once. Stop revisiting the decision. This chapter is the foundation. Without it, nothing else matters. Because manifestation does have a recipe. And no recipe works if you keep changing the ingredients. You now know what clarity actually is. You've chosen direction. You've removed emotional noise. And once direction is set, something powerful happens internally. Your mind stops asking. Your body starts trusting. And that is where conviction is born. You've decided what you want. Now it's time to examine why you want it. Chapter 2. Want it because you want it. Now that you have decided what you want, the next layer reveals itself naturally. Not forcefully. Not dramatically. Quietly. Honestly. This chapter is about motive. Because what you want matters. But why you want it matters more. Desire is not neutral. Desire carries a signal. And reality responds to the purity of that signal. Pure desire moves faster. Let's define that clearly. Pure desire is not born from comparison. It is not born from pressure. It is not born from fear of being behind, overlooked, or inadequate. Pure desire comes from resonance, from alignment, from truth. And when desire is pure, it feels calm. It feels clean. It feels inevitable. When desire is contaminated, it feels urgent. It feels heavy. It feels charged. This distinction alone explains why so many manifestations stall. Most people don't want what they want. They want what they think they should want. They want what would make them look successful. They want what would silence insecurity. They want what would finally prove something. That energy is unstable. And instability slows everything. Manifestation in of itself does have a recipe. And one of the core ingredients is emotional integrity. You cannot build a stable reality on an unstable motive. Let's talk about money, because it exposes this perfectly. Many people say they want money. But when you listen closely, they don't actually want money. They want relief. They want space. They want freedom from pressure. They want the ability to breathe without calculation. Money is not the desire. Money is the symbol. When someone says, "I want money," but internally feels stressed, rushed, or desperate, they are not aligned with money. They are aligned with escape. And escape energy repels stability. Now contrast that with someone who wants freedom. Freedom to choose their schedule. Freedom to rest without guilt. Freedom to say no. Freedom to create without urgency. That desire is clean. It's not reactive. It's expansive. And here's the key. When freedom is the true desire, money often arrives effortlessly. Sometimes in ways that make no logical sense. Why? Because the desire is intrinsic. Pure desire moves faster. This is why your desire has to match your conviction, and your conviction has to match your desire. If you want something to impress others, your conviction wavers when no one is watching. If you want something to escape discomfort, your conviction collapses the moment discomfort appears. But when you want something because it is true for you, conviction stabilizes naturally. You don't need to force belief. Belief follows truth. Let's slow this down. Ask yourself this without judgment. If no one ever knew I had this, would I still want it? That question filters everything. If the answer is no, the desire is externally sourced. If the answer is yes, the desire is intrinsic. An intrinsic desire does not need validation. It doesn't rush. It doesn't beg. It doesn't compete. It simply expects. This is where manifestation becomes inevitable instead of effortful. Because manifestation is internally shifting to a degree to which you're no longer emotionally dependent upon seeing reality change. When you want something for yourself, not for proof, you stop checking. You stop scanning. You stop measuring yourself against outcomes. And that internal stillness is powerful. Now let's anchor this with a real-world contrast. Imagine two people both saying they want $200,000. Person A wants $200,000 because they feel behind. They feel embarrassed. They feel like time is running out. Every thought about money tightens their body. Every delay feels personal. Person B wants $200,000 because they love spaciousness. They love choice. They love the feeling of building something clean and aligned. Same number, different signal. Person B is not emotionally dependent on when it arrives. They are already living in alignment with why it exists. Who do you think reality responds to faster? the one who needs the outcome, or the one who expects it. Pure desire moves faster. This is also where people unknowingly sabotage themselves. They decide what they want in Chapter 1. Then in Chapter 2, without realizing it, they contaminate it. They add pressure. They add timelines rooted in fear. They add stories like this has to work or else. That's not desire. That's survival. And survival thinking narrows perception. You stop seeing opportunities. You stop allowing unexpected routes. Remember the client who manifested $200,000 through crypto. That only happened because the desire was not chained to ego. If the desire had been, I need to make this through my business or I'm a failure, the opportunity would never have been perceived. Expecting money to come only through one channel is not clarity. It's attachment. Attachment is different from desire. Desire is open. Attachment is rigid. And rigidity blocks flow. This is why manifestation is never about forcing emotion. It's about cleaning emotion. It's about removing distortion. And distortion usually comes from comparison. Comparison says, I want this because they have it. Comparison says, I want this so I don't feel less than. Comparison says, I want this to catch up. That energy is borrowed. And borrowed energy dissipates quickly. Pure desire is self-generated. It doesn't ask permission. It doesn't explain itself. It simply exists. Here's the practice. When you think about what you want, notice how your body feels. Not what your mind says. Your body. Expansion means alignment. Constriction means distortion. If the desire feels heavy, ask why. Not to judge it, to clarify it. Often, when you remove the social layer, the desire simplifies. I don't actually want more money. I want ease. I don't actually want attention. I want expression. I don't actually want success. I want autonomy. This is refinement. And refinement accelerates manifestation. Because the reality that you wish to experience is a very specific reality. You cannot feed reality mixed instructions. Specific desire. Clean motive. Stable expectation. That is alignment. Now, let's bring in discipline again. The discipline to want something honestly. The discipline to stop lying to yourself about why you want it. The discipline to release desires that were never yours to begin with. This is not loss. This is liberation. And once the motive is clean, something interesting happens. Your thoughts quiet down. You still get doubts. That's normal. You cannot control your first thought, but you can control your second thought. The first thought might say, what if this doesn't happen? The second thought says, that's irrelevant. I want this because it's true. That second thought is powerful. It recenters you in intrinsic desire. And intrinsic desire does not require reassurance. This is where speed comes from. Not hustle. Not visualization marathons. Not constant affirmation. Speed comes from congruence. When what you want matches who you are becoming, resistance dissolves. Pure desire moves faster. Say it again internally. Pure desire moves faster. You are not trying to convince reality. You are allowing reality to reorganize around a stable signal. You've now decided what you want. You've purified why you want it. That means the destination is set, and the motive is clean, which brings us to the next illusion to dismantle. The illusion that you need to know how it will happen. You don't, and trying to figure it out is the fastest way to slow it down. You are clear. You are aligned. You are no longer emotionally bargaining. Now it's time to release control. Chapter 3. Do not decide how it has to happen. This is where alignment either accelerates everything or quietly collapses momentum. Because at this stage, most people make a subtle mistake. Not an obvious one, a reasonable one. They try to help reality. They have decided what they want. They have clarified why they want it. And then the mind steps back in and says, okay, but how is this actually going to work? That question feels innocent. It feels practical. It feels responsible. And it is the exact point where resistance is introduced. The mind's job is the destination. Reality handles the route. When those roles are respected, manifestation flows. When those roles are confused, manifestation slows. My job is alignment. The path is not my job. This is not a slogan. This is a boundary. The mind is designed to select outcomes. It is not designed to orchestrate infinite variables. When it tries, it creates tension, and tension is felt immediately. Notice it in yourself. The moment you start thinking about how something has to happen, your body tightens. Your breathing shortens. Your awareness narrows. That is not intuition. That is control. Control always comes from fear, even when it's subtle. The mind wants certainty before movement. Reality moves first, then reveals certainty. This is why controlling the how introduces delay, because you are asking the mind to do a job it cannot do. Manifestation in of itself does have a recipe, and one of the core rules of the recipe is role clarity. You decide the destination. You embody the state. You allow reality to assemble the sequence. Nothing is missing when you do this. Nothing is passive. Nothing is careless. It is precise cooperation. Think again about navigation. You don't open Google Maps and demand to know every turn before you leave. You enter the destination. Then you start moving. The route updates as you go. Life works the same way. Yet people say things like, I want more money, but it has to come from my business. I want a relationship, but it has to look like this. I want freedom, but only if it's safe. Those statements feel logical, but they are emotionally restrictive. They reduce possibility to familiarity. And familiarity is not where expansion lives. The reality that you wish to experience is a very specific reality. But the way you arrive there does not need to be specific. Outcome specificity. Path flexibility. That combination creates momentum. Let's anchor this again with lived experience. A client wants to manifest $200,000 in a month. Their business is doing $30,000. If they decide the how, the math creates pressure. Pressure collapses imagination. Instead, they stay aligned with the outcome. They don't deny logic. They simply don't worship it. An unexpected opportunity appears. Crypto. Unplanned. Unpredicted. The money arrives. Not because crypto is special, but because the channel was not restricted. If the belief had been, it has to come from my business or it doesn't count, the opportunity would have been invisible. Reality is always offering routes. Alignment determines what you can perceive. This is the part that changes everything. You don't miss opportunities because they don't exist. You miss them because you've already decided what they're supposed to look like. My job is alignment. The path is not my job. Say it slowly. This is how you stop interfering. The moment you decide the route, you create emotional dependency. You start watching for confirmation. You start checking timelines. You start evaluating progress. An evaluation collapses flow. Manifestation is internally shifting to a degree to which you're no longer emotionally dependent upon seeing reality change. The how question is emotional dependence disguised as planning. Real trust feels quiet. Now let's clarify something important. Releasing the how does not mean sitting still. It does not mean waiting passively. It means acting only when the action feels aligned, not compensatory. Aligned action feels obvious. It feels almost boring. It does not carry emotional charge. Forced action feels urgent. It feels heavy. It feels like proving. The difference is subtle, but unmistakable. When you are aligned, you move because it makes sense. When you are controlling, you move because you're afraid not to. That fear leaks into outcomes. This is why two people can take the same action and get completely different results. Energy leads. Behavior follows. Now let's talk about the mental habit itself. You cannot control your first thought, but you can control your second thought. The first thought says, "How is this going to happen?" The second thought is where mastery lives. The second thought says, "My job is alignment. The path is not my job." And then you return to the present moment. No argument, no justification, no explanation. That single redirection preserves momentum. Because every time you stop micromanaging reality, you restore trust. And trust is the condition that allows speed. People who manifest consistently are not smarter. They are not more positive. They are less interfering. They do not collapse possibility into preference. They expect solutions to arrive in ways they could not have predicted. And because they expect that, they remain open enough to notice them. Expectation shapes perception. This is why trying to figure everything out in advance feels exhausting. You are attempting to solve for variables that do not yet exist. Reality solves dynamically. Your job is to stay coherent. This is also why obsession with strategy before alignment rarely works. Strategy without alignment is effort without leverage. Alignment first. Path second. Always. Let's bring this back to money again, because it's familiar. Many people unconsciously believe money must come from effort, or from one specific channel, or from a linear process. Those beliefs are inherited. They are not laws. When someone stops insisting on one route, money often arrives from conversations, timing shifts, introductions, ideas, or markets they were never tracking. Not because they forced it, because they allowed it. Pure desire moves faster when it's not strangled by control. This chapter is about releasing the illusion that knowing the route makes you safe. Safety does not come from certainty. It comes from alignment. Aligned people adjust easily. Rigid people break. Now notice what has happened so far. You have chosen a clear outcome. You have purified the motive. You have released control over the path. This creates internal coherence. And coherence creates conviction. Conviction is not hype. It is not intensity. Conviction is quiet certainty. And that is the next piece. Because clarity without conviction wobbles. Alignment without conviction fades. The next chapter strengthens the internal certainty that makes your decision non-negotiable. You no longer need to control the route. You trust the intelligence arranging it. Chapter 4. Conviction must match desire. Desire alone is not enough. Desire is the spark. Conviction is the fuel. When those two are mismatched, manifestation stalls quietly, not dramatically. Nothing breaks. Nothing explodes. Things just don't move. Wanting without believing creates internal friction. And friction slows momentum every single time. This chapter is not about forcing belief. It is not about pretending. It is not about convincing yourself of something you don't feel. It is about alignment between what you want and what you expect. Because expectation is the true signal. Your desire has to match your conviction, and your conviction has to match your desire. If you want something deeply but expect disappointment, the stronger signal is disappointment. If you want something but emotionally brace for failure, the body prepares for loss, not receipt. Reality listens to the preparation. Conviction is not excitement. It is not intensity. It is not positive thinking. Conviction is calm expectancy. You know this state already. Think about something in your life that you never question. Something you assume will be there. You don't hope for it. You don't visualize it. You don't affirm it. You expect it. That expectation is neutral, stable, unemotional. That is conviction. And manifestation responds fastest to that frequency. This is why saying, "I hope this happens," feels very different from "I expect this." Hope leans forward. Expectation stands still. Hope watches. Expectation waits. And waiting when it's clean is powerful. I expect this. I don't hope for it. Say that internally. This is not arrogance. This is congruence. Now let's address the misunderstanding that stops people here. They think conviction means certainty without evidence. They think it means lying to themselves. It doesn't. Conviction means choosing the interpretation that supports alignment. Manifestation in of itself does have a recipe, and one of its most misunderstood steps is belief. Belief is not created by repetition alone. Belief is created by familiarity. You believe what feels normal. So the question becomes, how do you make a new outcome feel normal before it appears? You don't do it by shouting affirmations. You do it by removing emotional contradiction. Here's how contradiction shows up. Someone says, I want to be financially free. Then they emotionally rehearse stress every morning. They check accounts with tension. They talk about money with frustration. The desire says freedom. The emotion says scarcity. Reality responds to the emotion. This is not punishment. This is coherence. Wanting without believing creates internal friction. And friction feels like effort. Effort feels like pushing. Pushing signals lack. This is why forcing belief backfires. So how do you strengthen conviction without lying to yourself? You scale expectation. You don't jump from this feels impossible to this is guaranteed. That gap creates resistance. Instead, you move from hope to expectation gradually. You start here. This is possible. Then, this is reasonable. Then, this makes sense. Then, this is expected. Each step removes friction. This is how conviction is built honestly. Think about the client who manifested $200,000. They did not wake up one day fully convinced. They did not fake certainty. They simply stopped arguing against the possibility. They allowed the idea to exist without tension. That allowance created openness. And openness allowed an unexpected route to appear. Conviction often begins as neutrality. Not excitement. Not certainty. Neutrality. I'm open to this working. That sentence alone dissolves resistance. From there, expectation grows naturally. This is why manifestation is internally shifting to a degree to which you're no longer emotionally dependent upon seeing reality change. When you expect something, you don't monitor it. You don't chase reassurance. You don't need signs. You live your life. And that emotional independence is magnetic. Let's ground this again with money. Someone wants more income, but internally they say things like, money is hard. It never works out. I've tried before. Those statements are convictions. And convictions always win over desires. You don't need to fight those thoughts. You need to outgrow them. You cannot control your first thought, but you can control your second thought. The first thought might say, this probably won't work. The second thought says, I expect this to work in ways I don't yet see. That second thought doesn't lie. It reframes. And reframing restores alignment. Over time, expectation stabilizes. Now let's talk about friction again, because it's subtle. Friction shows up as impatience, as timeline obsession, as constant evaluation. How long is this taking? Why isn't it here yet? What am I doing wrong? Those questions are not curiosity. They are doubt, and doubt signals uncertainty. Expectation does not ask those questions. Expectation assumes arrival. I expect this. I don't hope for it. This phrase matters because it shifts posture. Hope leans forward emotionally. Expectation stands upright. Your body knows the difference. When you expect something, your nervous system relaxes. When you hope, it stays alert. Relaxation allows perception to widen. Wider perception reveals opportunities. This is why conviction accelerates manifestation. Not because it forces outcomes, but because it removes interference. Now consider another real example. Someone applies these principles to their business. They stop emotionally watching sales. They stop identifying with daily numbers. They decide on an outcome. They expect it. Sales increase. From dozens to hundreds. Nothing magical happened. They removed emotional friction. Their behavior changed subtly. Their communication shifted. Their presence stabilized. Reality responded. Conviction is not loud. It's consistent. This is also why affirmations fail when conviction is missing. Words without expectation are empty. Words with expectation are anchors. So if you use affirmations, use them to reinforce expectancy, not hype. Simple statements work best. This is working. This is unfolding. I expect results. No emotion required. Conviction does not need intensity. Now let's connect this back to desire. Your desire has to match your conviction, and your conviction has to match your desire. If your desire is big but your expectation is small, tension forms. If your expectation is big but your desire is unclear, energy scatters. Both must be aligned. This alignment feels grounded. Not euphoric. Not manic. Grounded. And grounded states manifest reliably. This is where people often confuse excitement with alignment. Excitement spikes. Conviction sustains. Spikes crash. Sustains build. You don't need to feel amazing every day. You need to feel steady. Steadiness is power. Now here's the integration practice for this chapter. Notice how you internally reference what you want. Do you say, I'm trying to make this happen? Or do you say, this is happening? Do you say, I hope this works? Or do you say, I expect this? Language reveals expectation, and expectation reveals conviction. You don't need to correct every thought. Just notice the pattern, then gently redirect. You cannot control your first thought, but you can control your second thought. The second thought always returns you to expectancy. I expect this. I don't hope for it. Say it again. Let it land without emotion. This is not about confidence. It's about coherence. And when coherence is present, resistance dissolves. You now have clarity. You have purified desire. You have released control of the path. And you are stabilizing conviction. The internal signal is becoming clean. The next step is where speed truly comes from. Because once conviction is present, emotion becomes the engine. Not forced emotion, generated emotion. That is where manifestation accelerates dramatically. Chapter 5, Emotional. Generation is the engine. Everything up to this point has been preparation. Clarity sets direction. Pure desire cleans motive. Releasing the how removes resistance. Conviction stabilizes expectation. Now we reach the engine. Emotion. Not emotion as reaction. Emotion is generation. Because reality does not respond to words. It does not respond to plans. It does not respond to affirmations spoken without feeling. Reality responds to emotional states. Emotion is the language reality responds to, not words. This is not metaphorical. This is mechanical. Your emotional state is a signal, and that signal is constant, whether you are aware of it or not. Most people believe emotion comes after circumstances change. They believe they will feel relieved after money arrives, confident after success appears, loved after a relationship forms. That sequence is backwards. Manifestation is internally shifting to a degree to which you're no longer emotionally dependent upon seeing reality change. Emotion comes first. Evidence comes later. Feel it first. See it later. This is the hinge point where manifestation becomes real instead of conceptual. Now let's be precise. This chapter is not about pretending to be happy. It is not about forcing positivity. It is not about denying current circumstances. It is about learning how to generate emotional states deliberately. There is a difference between reaction and generation. Reaction is automatic. Generation is intentional. Reaction says, I feel this because something happened. Generation says, I feel this because I choose to. Generation is power. Think about this. You can feel anxious about something that hasn't happened yet. You can feel excited about a future event that isn't here. You can feel nostalgic about a memory that exists only in your mind. Those emotions are real. They affect your body, your posture, your behavior. That proves something important. Emotion does not require physical evidence, which means you are already capable of emotional generation. You've just been using it unconsciously. Now you use it deliberately. This is why manifestation in of itself does have a recipe. And emotion is not optional in that recipe. Emotion is the engine that turns expectation into experience. Without emotion, conviction stays theoretical. With emotion, conviction becomes embodied. Now let's clarify which emotions matter. Not excitement, not hype, not intensity. Those spike and crash. The emotions that manifest reliably are subtle. Relief, ease, satisfaction, calm confidence, naturalness. These emotions signal arrival, not anticipation. When something is already yours, you don't feel excited all day. You feel settled. That settled feeling is powerful. This is why feel it first does not mean feel ecstatic. It means feel normal. Feel it first. See it later. Let's ground this with money again. Someone wants financial abundance. They try to feel excited about it. That excitement feels forced, unstable, short-lived. Instead, what if they generated relief? The relief of bills being handled. The relief of not checking accounts constantly. The relief of space. That emotion is quieter, but it's consistent. Reality responds to consistency. Or take freedom. Freedom doesn't feel loud. It feels spacious. When you imagine waking up without urgency, without pressure, without tightness in your chest, that emotional tone is the signal. You don't need the money yet to feel that tone. You need the tone to receive the money. Now here's where most people get stuck. They wait for emotion to arise naturally. They wait for something external to trigger it. That is reaction. Generation is different. Generation says, I choose the emotional state now. Not all day. Not constantly. Briefly. Cleanly. Deliberately. You don't need to sustain emotion for hours. You need to access it regularly. This is where practice comes in. And practice does not mean struggle. It means repetition without strain. Feel it first. See it later. Let's make this practical. Choose the emotional state that would exist if your desire were already fulfilled. Not the story. Not the images. The feeling. Ask yourself, how would my body feel if this were already done? Would your shoulders drop? Would your breathing slow? Would your jaw unclench? That physical shift is the entry point. You don't need to imagine scenes for 10 minutes. You need 30 seconds of embodied feeling. That's enough. This is why visualization alone often fails. People visualize images without emotional engagement. The mind is active. The body is unchanged. Reality responds to the body. Emotion is physiological. This is also why affirmations fail when spoken mechanically. Words without emotion are noise. Emotion without words is signal. Now let's integrate a critical principle. Your desire has to match your conviction, and your conviction has to match your desire. Emotion is where that match becomes real. If you say you expect something but feel anxious daily, conviction is not embodied. If you say you desire something but feel resigned, desire is not alive. Emotion aligns them. This is not about suppressing negative emotion. Negative emotion is information. When it arises, notice it. Then choose again. You cannot control your first thought, but you can control your second thought. The first thought might be fear. The second thought can be relief. Not fake relief. Chosen relief. Relief that says, I don't need to solve this right now. I'm not in danger. This is unfolding. That emotional choice matters. Now let's return to the client example one more time. The client who manifested $200,000 did not sit in excitement every day. They were not constantly visualizing money. They felt calm. They felt settled. They stopped emotionally chasing. That emotional neutrality created space. And space allows unexpected routes. When the crypto opportunity appeared, it felt obvious. Not desperate, not urgent, emotion-guided perception. This is why people often say, "It just felt right." That feeling is alignment, and alignment is emotional. This also explains why people sabotage manifestations right before arrival. They generate anxiety. They reintroduce urgency. They start checking again. Emotion shifts. Signal changes. Momentum slows. This is not punishment. It's feedback. So here is the core practice of this chapter. Once or twice a day, generate the emotional state of fulfillment. Briefly, without effort. Sit still. Breathe. Let your body soften. Ask one question. If this were already done, how would this moment feel? Then feel that. No images required. No affirmations required. Just feeling. Feel it first. See it later. This practice does something subtle. It trains your nervous system to recognize fulfillment as familiar. And what feels familiar becomes normal. What feels normal manifests easily. This is how you stop emotionally waiting. Because waiting carries tension. Fulfillment carries calm. Reality mirrors calm. Now let's connect this to specificity again. The reality that you wish to experience is a very specific reality. That means the emotional tone is also specific. Abundance has a different feeling than success. Freedom feels different than recognition. Peace feels different than excitement. Don't generalize emotion. Be precise. Precision accelerates. This is not about forcing yourself into a feeling you don't have access to. It's about choosing the closest emotional match. If joy feels far, choose relief. If confidence feels far, choose neutrality. If excitement feels fake, choose calm. Small shifts compound. Now let's address a common trap. People think if they feel good now, they won't be motivated. That belief is false. Alignment does not remove action. It refines it. Aligned action comes from clarity, not pressure. Emotion leads. Behavior follows. This is why emotional generation is the engine. Not visualization. Not affirmations. Not effort. Emotion. And this is why manifestation is not about fixing your life. It's about shifting your internal baseline. Once your baseline changes, reality reorganizes naturally. You don't chase evidence. You don't demand proof. You expect outcomes. An expectation paired with embodied emotion is powerful. Say it again. Feel it first. See it later. This chapter completes the internal foundation. You are no longer thinking differently. You are feeling differently. And feeling is where reality listens. Next, we refine how you use imagery. Not to strain, not to fantasize, but to reinforce emotional alignment simply and effectively. Chapter 6. Visualize simply, not perfectly. Visualization is one of the most misunderstood tools in manifestation. People overcomplicate it. They try to imagine every detail. They rehearse scenarios endlessly. And what happens? Pressure arises. Energy disperses. Momentum stalls. Manifestation does not require perfection. It requires coherence. Simplicity is the key. Short, clean, repeated moments of alignment. Simple. Short. Certain. Say it. Let it land. Over-visualizing is a common trap. You imagine your goal in high definition, every conversation, every step. You demand the universe matches your storyboard exactly. This is control disguised as imagination. It's exhausting. It slows everything. Simplicity, in contrast, creates flow. Flow is effortless. Flow aligns with reality instead of resisting it. Choose one short scene. Focus on one emotional anchor. Repeat consistently. For example, you want financial abundance. Don't visualize every transaction, every client, every dollar. Visualize the feeling of having enough, the relief, the satisfaction. That feeling alone is enough. Emotion matters more than the narrative. The body receives clarity. The mind stabilizes expectation. Simple, short, certain. Visualizing simply strengthens internal coherence. It reduces friction. It removes conflict between desire and doubt. Consider another example, freedom. You don't need to see yourself on a beach for hours. You can close your eyes and feel spaciousness in your chest, ease in your shoulders, calm in your breathing. This single sensory emotional moment acts as an anchor. It signals reality. It trains your nervous system to recognize the state as familiar. Simple, short, certain. Notice the contrast with overvisualization. Overvisualization feels heavy. It demands evidence. It requires constant adjustment. Simplicity does not demand. It communicates. It whispers certainty to the universe. Now, pair this with emotional generation. Visualization without emotion is an image floating in the mind. Visualization with emotional anchoring becomes a signal. Your desire has to match your conviction. Your conviction has to match your desire. An emotion cements the alignment. Simple, repeated imagery creates consistency. Consistency becomes habit. Habit becomes magnetic. The brain and body begin to accept the outcome as inevitable. Not forced, not desperate, natural, simple, short, certain. Think of it like planting a seed. You don't bury 10 trees in one hole. You plant one seed. Water it consistently. Give it sunlight. Allow it to grow. Your visualization is the seed. Emotion is the water. Repetition is the sunlight. Growth is inevitable. Do not obsess over details that do not yet exist. The universe will handle them. Your responsibility is alignment, clarity, and embodied expectation. One short scene, one emotional anchor, repeated consistently. When you notice your mind wandering during visualization, return immediately to simplicity. Shorten the scene. Focus on the feeling. Re-anchor your certainty. Avoid overthinking. Avoid judgment. Avoid trying to make it perfect. Simplicity is elegance in manifestation. Elegance is magnetic. The reality that you wish to experience is a very specific reality. Your visualization does not need to include the entire process. It only needs to align you with the outcome. Even 10 seconds of clear, emotionally anchored visualization, repeated multiple times a day, is more powerful than an hour of complex, exhausting scenes. Simple, short, certain. This approach trains your subconscious. It embeds the emotional tone. It communicates expectation. It removes doubt. Now, integrate with previous chapters. You have clarity. You have purified desire. You have released the how. You have conviction. You generate emotion. And now you anchor it simply. Every step builds on the previous. Every step reinforces alignment. Here's the practical method. Close your eyes. Imagine one short scene that represents your desire. Feel the corresponding emotion as though it already exists. Hold for a few breaths. Repeat several times a day. Do not worry about accuracy or perfection. Perfection is a distraction. Flow is your ally. Simple, short, certain. When you apply this consistently, opportunities appear without strain. The path reveals itself naturally. Your nervous system begins to recognize fulfillment as familiar. Manifestation accelerates when the mind is relaxed and the emotional tone is precise. This chapter is the bridge between thought and feeling, between expectation and embodiment, between desire and lived reality. Now let's transition. You've learned to simplify visualization. You've anchored emotion deliberately. The next step is normalization, making manifestation a part of everyday consciousness, not a rare event, not a special occasion. Chapter 7. Normalize the outcome. Up until now, we've clarified desire, released control, built conviction, generated emotion, and anchored it simply. Now we take the next critical step, normalization. Normalization is the practice of making your outcome feel ordinary, not extraordinary, not shocking, not miraculous. And because they feel exceptional, they remain emotionally dependent. They chase signs. This is where most people struggle. They treat their desires like distant fantasies, like rare events, like miracles that might never arrive. They second-guess reality. They exhaust energy. Manifestation responds to normalcy. What feels normal manifests faster than what feels exciting. Think about small children learning to walk. They do not hope to walk. They expect to walk. And eventually, it happens naturally. The body, the mind, and the environment adjust automatically to the expectation. Normalization is about translating emotional peaks into steady alignment. It is about downgrading desire into expectation. Not killing desire. Not surrendering your dream, but treating it like a natural part of life. This is why repetition matters. This is just how my life goes now. Say it. Feel it. Believe it. Not as hype. Not as affirmation. As a neutral statement of fact. Imagine a wealthy person. They don't live each day in euphoric surprise over their income. They handle it as ordinary. They make decisions effortlessly. They move without resistance. The same applies to freedom, relationships, or health. Normalization shifts the nervous system. When the body believes the outcome is familiar, it stops resisting. When resistance dissolves, opportunities arrive effortlessly. Let's examine emotional downgrading. At first, your desire may feel intense. It might spike adrenaline. It might produce obsession. That intensity signals dependency. Dependency slows manifestation. Downgrading desire into expectation is a subtle, internal adjustment. You hold the outcome lightly, yet firmly. You feel it often. You think of it with calm certainty, not with desperation or urgency. Here's an example. Someone wants to make $100,000 extra this month. Early in the process, the desire is intense. They check accounts constantly. They calculate timelines obsessively. They feel stress with every interaction. Downgrading desire looks like this. They feel the money internally as if it has already arrived. They act as though it is part of their baseline. They carry the calm certainty of normalcy in their body. Notice how different this feels. No urgency. No fear. No need to chase. The body begins to signal readiness. The mind stops resisting. Opportunities that were invisible become obvious. Now let's connect this to repetition. This is just how my life goes now. This phrase is not motivational fluff. It is a command to the subconscious. It replaces hope and fear with certainty and acceptance. Repeat it internally throughout the day. Notice moments of doubt. Return immediately to the baseline. This is just how my life goes now. This creates familiarity with the desired state. It rewires expectation. It allows reality to mirror the internal state naturally. Normalization also bridges internal and external alignment. When the inner state feels ordinary, actions are effortless. Communication is natural. Decisions are aligned. The external world flows to match internal expectation. A practical exercise. Visualize your outcome briefly. Generate the corresponding emotion. State silently. This is just how my life goes now. Let your body respond naturally. Repeat several times daily. Small, consistent doses compound into a baseline state of normalized expectation. Normalization also prevents burnout. High emotional spikes create fatigue. Calm, consistent expectation sustains energy over the long term. Let's apply this to another example, relationships. You desire a loving, harmonious partnership. Early desire may feel intense, anxious, or impatient. You might overanalyze every interaction. Normalization shifts this energy. You carry the state internally as familiar. You interact without desperation. You act in alignment rather than in reaction. The partner and circumstances respond naturally to this grounded state. This principle applies universally. Money, career, freedom, health, creativity. When the outcome feels normal, manifestation accelerates. Normalization is the emotional equivalent of standing on solid ground. Excitement is unstable soil. Doubt is quicksand. Expectation is rock. Once your nervous system is anchored in normalcy, the next step is subtle yet powerful. Letting go of tension completely. Relaxation, release, and trust now become second nature. Normalization is the bridge between internal coherence and effortless manifestation. It makes abundance ordinary. It makes success natural. It makes fulfillment familiar. You now carry desire with ease. Conviction feels steady. Emotion is deliberate. Visualization is simple. And all of this sets the stage for letting go entirely. Your life is no longer an event to be chased. It is a state to be inhabited, a flow to be maintained. The repeated anchor holds. This is just how my life goes now. Feel it, live it, breathe it, integrate it into your daily moments. The next step is release. Because normalization without release is incomplete. Release removes subtle tension and opens the way for reality to deliver without interference. Chapter 8. Stop checking for evidence. Evidence is not the engine of manifestation. Evidence is the result. And focusing on results too early creates friction. Looking for proof signals doubt. Even subtle doubt slows momentum. Every check, glance, or question says, "I am unsure." And the universe responds with alignment to that signal. When you monitor constantly, you are saying, "I need to verify before believing. I require reassurance before expecting." This is the opposite of trust. Trust is the lever of manifestation. Think about the nervous system. When you check, it tightens. When it tightens, your signal changes. Your body signals lack, not arrival. You cannot control the first thought. You cannot control the first urge to check. But you can control the second. And the second is the one that matters. I don't check. I trust. This repetition is not a mantra. It is a nervous system cue. It reprograms expectation into calm certainty. Imagine someone waiting for money to appear. Every hour, they check their account. Every alert triggers anxiety. They scan the news, the inbox, the mailbox. They are emotionally invested in outcomes that are not yet theirs. And that investment blocks energy. It slows pathways for manifestation. Now consider the alternative. You have desire. You have clarity. You have conviction. You have emotion. You have normalization. And now you stop monitoring. You release attachment to proof. You accept that the universe knows the path better than you do. I don't check. I trust. This does not mean inaction. It does not mean laziness. It means alignment. You act when it is necessary, without obsession. You plant seeds and tend them with calm presence. You do not dig them up constantly to see if they have sprouted. Checking is a form of emotional interference. It rewires the nervous system toward impatience. It signals lack. It invites delay. When you stop checking, momentum accelerates. Energy flows unimpeded. Opportunities become visible. Paths appear naturally. Let's apply this to another example. Relationships. You desire connection. You text, call, and overanalyze every response. You interpret delays as rejection. Your nervous system tightens. Stop checking. Trust the process. Trust the timing. Trust that the desired interaction will align when it is meant to. I don't check. I trust. The act of checking is subtle yet powerful. It often disguises itself as curiosity, responsibility, or strategy. But the emotional undertone is always doubt. And doubt signals separation from the desired outcome. Here's a behavioral practice. Notice when you are scanning for evidence, pause, repeat internally. I don't check. I trust. Return to your baseline state of calm expectation. You are retraining attention. Attention is energy. Energy drives manifestation. Checking fragments attention. Trust consolidates energy. Even small instances matter. Looking once is still a signal. Releasing consistently shifts momentum. Manifestation in of itself does have a recipe. And evidence is not part of the recipe. Your internal alignment is. Your conviction is. Your emotional generation is. Trust does not require external proof. It is internally generated. It is quiet. It is certain. Let's bring in a financial example. A client wanted $200,000 in a month. Instead of constantly tracking, checking, and evaluating their investments, they stopped. They continued acting aligned with their business and personal growth. Without monitoring, opportunities appeared in unexpected ways. Crypto investment delivered the result effortlessly. Checking would have created resistance. Trust allowed alignment to accelerate. Notice how simple this is. Desire, clarity, conviction, emotion, normalization, and now trust. Trust is the final internal command before reality moves. Every time a thought arises to check, pause. Repeat, I don't check. I trust. Let the nervous system relax. Return to baseline expectation. This chapter is not theoretical. It is practical. It is internal. It is immediate. Checking is distraction. Trust is magnetism. Checking invites delay. Trust accelerates momentum. And trust is consistent. It does not spike or crash. It does not require evidence. It only requires alignment. You cannot control the first urge. You can control the second. The second shapes reality. I don't check. I trust. Use this anchor throughout your day. In small things. In big things. Every glance at outcomes is an opportunity to redirect. The more consistently you apply this, the more effortless manifestation becomes. Momentum builds quietly. Reality rearranges naturally. The path opens. You are no longer reactive. You are coherent. You are aligned. You are magnetic. This is the power of stopping the chase. Stopping the monitoring. Stopping the need for external validation. I don't check. I trust. Once you embody this, the next step is subtle but transformative, allowing action to emerge naturally. Aligned behavior flows from trust without forcing or pushing. Chapter 9. Identity is the final switch. Up to this point, you've built clarity, purified desire, released control, strengthened conviction, generated emotion, anchored visualization, normalized outcomes, and stopped checking for evidence. Now we move to the final switch, identity. Because manifestation is not about acquiring things. It is not about forcing events. It is not about accumulating results. You don't attract what you want, you express who you are. Your external reality is a mirror of your internal state. Everything you see is a reflection of your identity. This is why people chase goals endlessly. They think manifestation is about getting things. They try harder, hustle more, plan more. But if identity remains unchanged, the results feel temporary. They arrive, but dissatisfaction returns. Momentum slows, and patterns reemerge. Identity shifts collapse time between desire and result. When your internal identity embodies the outcome, manifestation is instant. Not because the universe rushes, but because you no longer operate as separate from it. Your vibration, your energy, your perception, all are aligned. This is the difference between hoping for abundance and living as abundant. Hoping is external. Being is internal. This is who I am now. Repeat it. Feel it. Anchor it. Identity is not performance. It is not pretending. It is integration. It is the alignment of thought, emotion, and behavior with the desired state. It is the natural expression of fulfillment. Think about money. A person may desire wealth, but carry an identity of scarcity. They negotiate with fear. They worry about spending. They resist receiving. Change the identity. Now they are abundant. They make decisions confidently. They act from ease. Money flows naturally because resistance is gone. Identity shifts also influence perception. Once you embody the state, opportunities appear obvious. Synchronicities are noticed. You recognize doors that were invisible before. A client wanted to manifest freedom from a 9-to-5 job. Before the shift, they visualized outcomes but doubted their ability. After adopting the internal identity of someone who is free, they noticed opportunities to consult, freelance, and invest. Doors opened because perception now matched the identity. This is who I am now. Notice the repetition. It is not an idle phrase. It is a command to the subconscious. It rewires thought patterns. It realigns emotion. It stabilizes behavior. Identity collapse is not gradual. It can be instantaneous. When fully embodied, the distance between desire and reality disappears. There is no waiting. There is no hoping. There is only being. This is why manifestation without identity alignment often fails. The desire exists. The emotion is generated. But the core self still doubts, fears, or resists. You must shift at the root, at the level of who you are. Consider relationships. You desire connection and love, but you carry an identity of unworthiness or dependence. The relationships that manifest reflect that inner state. Shift identity. You are now someone worthy of love. You interact from confidence. You attract partnerships that mirror that alignment. Identity is a filter for reality. Reality responds to who you are, not what you want. Notice how repetition anchors this. This is who I am now. It reinforces alignment. It prevents regression. It becomes a baseline operating system. You do not have to push. You do not have to force outcomes. Your identity signals arrival. Your behavior flows naturally. Your perception recognizes the path. This is also why identity shifts collapse time. When you live as already fulfilled, you do not wait for events. You act in accordance with your state. Actions, opportunities, and results synchronize naturally. Identity is the magnet. All previous steps, clarity, desire, control, release, conviction, emotion, visualization, normalization, and trust are preparatory. They set the internal stage. Identity is the switch that turns the entire system on. One final note, identity is flexible. You do not have to adopt a permanent, rigid self-concept. You experiment. You test alignment. You embody until it stabilizes. Then reality mirrors it. This is who I am now. Say it silently. Say it aloud. Feel it in your body. Let it permeate posture, breathing, tone, and thought. Let it guide behavior automatically. Once you adopt this identity, all remaining steps, emotion, expectation, aligned action, become effortless. The nervous system recognizes fulfillment. Momentum becomes unstoppable. Resistance dissolves. You are no longer trying to get life. You are living life. You are expressing reality from the inside out. This chapter completes the inner foundation. Everything now flows naturally from who you are. Nothing outside needs to validate you. Nothing outside needs to change first. The final switch is flipped. The blueprint is active. The law is working. You are identity. You are alignment. You are magnetic. This is who I am now. Next, we learn to integrate all these principles into continuous, unstoppable action. Chapter 10. Act when inspired, not anxious. By now, you've mastered identity, internal alignment, emotion, and normalization. The next step is action. But not all action is equal. Some action propels manifestation. Other action creates friction, struggle, and delay. Inspired action feels light. Forced action feels heavy. This distinction is subtle but critical. Aligned action feels obvious. Notice the difference in your own body. When you are inspired, your steps flow naturally. Energy moves without tension. Decisions feel easy. Movement arises organically. When action is forced, you feel resistance. Your chest tightens. Your mind doubts. Energy fragments. You check, calculate, push, and strain. Manifestation does not require pushing. It requires alignment. Your internal state signals when the next step is ready. Aligned action emerges from inspiration. It does not require persuasion. It does not require willpower. It feels magnetic. It feels correct. Think about someone starting a business. They might feel pressured to make dozens of calls, schedule endless meetings, or force visibility online. That is forced action. It produces fatigue and internal friction. Aligned action would be one inspired step, perhaps a single email, a creative post, a phone call initiated with ease. Momentum arises naturally from that single inspired step. The next inspired step appears immediately afterward. Aligned action feels obvious. This is why anxious action rarely produces results. Anxiety creates tension. Tension signals lack. Lack slows momentum. Now, imagine financial manifestation. Someone wants $200,000. Anxious action. Constantly checking accounts, overanalyzing investments, pushing deals that aren't ready. Inspired action. Following intuition to invest in the right opportunity at the right time. The difference is enormous. Anxiety exhausts. Inspiration multiplies. You'll learn to tell the difference instantly. Notice physical cues. Notice mental cues. Notice emotional cues. Inspired action feels expansive. It is effortless. It carries joy. It flows in rhythm with life. Anxious action feels compressed. It carries doubt. It creates urgency that was never required. It fragments attention. Aligned action aligns with identity. It aligns with emotion. It aligns with expectation. It amplifies manifestation naturally. Repeatedly check. Am I moving from inspiration or from fear? Am I acting from expansion or contraction? Am I feeling certainty or pushing against doubt? Aligned action feels obvious. Even small actions matter. One step taken with clarity and inspiration outweighs 10 steps taken with tension. Energy compounds exponentially. This principle applies to every area of life. Health, relationships, creativity, career, and finance all respond to inspired movement. Acting before inspiration produces results, but at high cost. Acting from inspiration produces results that compound effortlessly. Consider daily life. A client wanted to increase sales. Instead of forcing every strategy, they paused until an inspired idea arose. They implemented it with energy, clarity, and calm. Sales multiplied. Momentum accelerated naturally. The nervous system is the barometer. Heaviness signals misalignment. Lightness signals alignment. Your task is to listen. Act only when inspiration whispers, not when anxiety shouts. Aligned action is often small. It does not require spectacle. It does not require validation. It is simply obvious. Aligned action amplifies every previous step. Emotion, normalization, identity, and trust all flow through inspired movement. Forced action creates blockages and slows manifestation. This is why stop checking for evidence matters here. Evidence without alignment produces reactive action. Aligned inspiration without evidence produces growth. Aligned action feels obvious. Take note, inspiration is not always urgent. Urgency can mask as inspiration. Pause. Feel your body. Check for lightness, ease, and expansion. That is the true signal. Small daily inspired steps compound into massive results. They create ripple effects. Opportunities appear effortlessly. Reality mirrors internal alignment. Remember, manifestation is the result of internal state. Aligned action is the external expression of that state. Do not force outcomes. Do not push through discomfort. Wait for inspiration. Move when it calls. Aligned action feels obvious. It feels natural. It feels correct. It feels effortless. Your inner alignment now drives reality. Your identity now expresses outward. Your desire now moves naturally toward fulfillment. When inspiration strikes, act boldly, confidently, and lightly. When anxiety arises, pause, recalibrate, and return to baseline alignment. This chapter is about merging inner certainty with outer behavior. Alignment in motion is unstoppable. Alignment in motion is magnetic. Aligned action feels obvious. Next, we refine patience and trust, allowing manifestation to unfold while remaining fully aligned. Chapter 11. Remove emotional resistance. At this point, you've clarified your desire, strengthened conviction, generated emotion, simplified visualization, normalized outcomes, stopped checking for evidence, embraced identity, and moved with inspired action. Now we address one of the final internal blocks, resistance. Resistance is not the absence of desire. It is not a flaw in manifestation. It is emotional contradiction. It arises when part of you wants something, while another part secretly doubts or fears it. When part of you embraces abundance, while another part fears responsibility. When part of you seeks freedom, while another part fears leaving familiarity. Resistance is subtle. It hides in guilt, unworthiness, fear, or hesitation. It masquerades as practicality, caution, or even humility. Manifestation slows when resistance exists. Energy splits. Momentum stutters. The nervous system signals tension. You can feel it physically. A tightening in the chest. A heaviness in the stomach. A restless, unsettled mind. I allow good things easily. This phrase is your anchor. It dissolves contradiction. It signals alignment. It rewires the subconscious toward ease. Consider guilt. Guilt says, I don't deserve this. It blocks abundance. It prevents joy. It signals to reality. Wait, do not deliver yet. Unworthiness operates similarly. You may want love, wealth, or freedom. But if you internally question your right to receive, manifestation halts. Fear of success is equally obstructive. Success changes identity, social dynamics, responsibilities. The subconscious resists abrupt shifts. This subtle resistance delays outcomes. Removing resistance begins with awareness. Notice moments of hesitation, doubt, or discomfort. Acknowledge them without judgment. Label them as resistance, not failure. Then consciously shift. I allow good things easily. Repeat internally. Feel it. Anchor it in body and mind. This is not affirming blindly. It is dissolving contradiction. It is creating coherence between desire, identity, and expectation. Resistance is often reinforced by past experiences. Failures, setbacks, or criticism condition the nervous system to tighten. You anticipate friction rather than ease. You can retrain this system. Use emotional awareness. Catch tension as it arises. Respond deliberately. I allow good things easily. Consider a practical example. A client wanted to manifest $200,000 in a month. They initially experienced subtle guilt around sudden wealth. They felt undeserving. They worried about judgment. By consciously repeating, I allow good things easily, and acknowledging each tension point, the block dissolved. The manifestation arrived through unexpected avenues without forcing. Resistance can also appear in relationships. You desire connection, intimacy, or partnership. Part of you fears vulnerability, rejection, or change. You sabotage the flow subconsciously. Acknowledging these feelings and releasing them allows natural alignment. I allow good things easily. It signals internal readiness. It removes friction. It opens the path for external alignment. Resistance manifests as impatience too. You want results now, but part of you fears acceleration. You feel internal push-pull. Release the push-pull with consistent affirmation and emotional coherence. I allow good things easily. The key is repetition and integration. Every time doubt, fear, guilt, or hesitation arises, return immediately to the anchor. Do not debate the resistance. Do not analyze excessively. Simply dissolve it with alignment. Notice how resistance affects inspired action. If unresolved, action feels heavy, strained, or fragmented. When resistance is released, action flows naturally. Opportunities appear effortlessly. Momentum becomes continuous. Resistance is also context-specific. It may arise around money, relationships, career, or creativity. Observe patterns, not just single instances. Release systematically. I allow good things easily. Even small doses of resistance can slow manifestation significantly. Subtle tension accumulates. It signals doubt. It fragments alignment. Release consistently. This principle ties all prior chapters together. Clarity, desire, control, release, conviction, emotion, visualization, normalization, trust, identity, and aligned action are all amplified once resistance is gone. Removing resistance is not a one-time act. It is a constant internal calibration. It is noticing contradiction, acknowledging it, and dissolving it. It is consistent alignment with the reality you wish to inhabit. I allow good things easily. Resistance removal is also liberation. You no longer carry hidden obstacles. You no longer delay joy. You no longer argue internally with life. Your nervous system signals readiness. Your mind signals certainty. Your heart signals openness. Manifestation accelerates because internal energy is coherent. Momentum flows uninterrupted. Your desires are no longer external quests. They are natural expressions of being. This chapter completes the inner foundation for effortless manifestation. Once resistance is gone, your alignment is pure, coherent, and magnetic. The next step is integrating all of this into continuous, nonstop creation. From clarity to trust, from identity to inspired action, from emotion to absence of resistance, you now move into full embodiment of manifestation. Chapter 12. Let go without giving up. At this point, you've built the full internal system. Clarity, conviction, emotion, simplified visualization, normalization, trust, identity, aligned action, and resistance removal. Now we address a subtle but crucial step, letting go. Letting go is not giving up. It is not abandoning your desire. It is not surrendering effort. It is a deliberate release of tension while keeping your intention alive. I release the tension, not the intention. This is the anchor. It separates obsession from desire. It allows the nervous system to relax. It prevents burnout. It creates space for reality to respond naturally. When people misunderstand letting go, they often stop acting. They detach from desire entirely. They suppress emotion. They stop generating inspiration. This is giving up, not letting go. True letting go keeps the desire alive internally while releasing attachment to timing, outcome, and external validation. The mind is free. The body is free. The energy flows naturally toward manifestation. Desire stays. Obsession leaves. Obsession is an internal tug-of-war. It creates anxiety. It signals doubt. It tightens the nervous system. When obsession leaves, inspired action is unhindered. Opportunities appear effortlessly. Momentum accelerates without resistance. Consider financial manifestation. A client desired $200,000 in a month. Initially, they checked constantly, calculated every scenario, and felt internal pressure. This was obsession. When they shifted to letting go, releasing tension while keeping the intention, they acted only from inspired guidance. The funds arrived from unexpected channels. The universe responded to calm alignment, not frantic insistence. I released the tension, not the intention. Letting go is also critical in relationships. You may desire love, partnership, or connection. Obsessive thoughts, overanalyzing interactions, or second-guessing signals resistance. By letting go, you maintain emotional presence while allowing the situation to unfold naturally. This does not weaken desire, it strengthens alignment. Letting go requires trust in your own alignment, trust in your identity, trust in your normalized expectation, trust in your nervous system, trust in reality's intelligence to deliver. I release the tension, not the intention. Detachment does not mean inaction. It means presence without force. It means inspired action without urgency. It means moving from calm certainty rather than desperate need. Think of a child learning to swim. They hold a toy in one hand and let the other hand float freely. They do not clutch everything tightly. They do not panic. They allow the water to support them while still holding what matters. This is letting go. When you release tension, internal energy consolidates. Momentum becomes continuous. Manifestation aligns with effortless timing. Letting go also prevents the emotional spikes that block manifestation. Excess excitement signals lack. Overattachment signals absence. Relaxation signals certainty. I release the tension, not the intention. This is not passive waiting. It is active alignment. You continue to act, visualize, feel, and normalize. You maintain identity and conviction. You trust. You allow. Every step of manifestation up to this point is now integrated. Letting go allows the flow to continue without resistance. It ensures energy is not wasted. It ensures the system functions naturally. Even setbacks are neutralized. Minor delays no longer trigger panic. Challenges are reframed as opportunities for alignment. You maintain the baseline state of expectation. Desire stays. Obsession leaves. Your nervous system signals ease. Your mind signals certainty. Your actions are light, inspired, and aligned. Manifestation accelerates. Momentum builds. Opportunities appear unexpectedly, but consistently. I release the tension, not the intention. This chapter bridges the inner system to outer results. Once tension is removed and obsession dissolved, the final stage is continuous, nonstop creation. You are now fully integrated, aligned, and ready to live in constant manifestation. Chapter 13, Signs Mean Nothing, Results Mean Everything. By now, you've built clarity, conviction, emotion, simplified visualization, normalization, trust, identity, aligned action, removed resistance, and learned to let go. Now we address a subtle but critical trap, relying on signs. Signs are distractions. They are not indicators of manifestation. They are often projections of your desire, doubts, or anxiety. I don't need reassurance. Many people search the world for confirmation. They read coincidences as signals. They interpret random events as hints. A song on the radio, a social media post, a comment overheard in a conversation. These are external stimuli. They do not guarantee outcome. They may satisfy a momentary craving for certainty, but they do not accelerate results. Chasing signs delays manifestation. When you constantly look for reassurance, you split your attention. You signal doubt. You reinforce impatience. Momentum stalls. Energy leaks into observation instead of alignment. Manifestation does not hint. Reality does not play games. Reality delivers. I don't need reassurance. Focus on the internal, not the external. Your clarity, your conviction, your identity, your alignment, these are the true measures of readiness. These are the signals that matter. External signs are inconsistent. They are often coincidental. They can mislead. They can create false hope or premature celebration. Consider money manifestation. A client constantly waited for signs, a text, a notification, a news headline. They delayed inspired action, doubted their internal process, and felt anxious. When they stopped chasing signs, aligned with their desire, acted when inspired, and let go of external reassurance. The funds arrived. Unexpectedly. Naturally. Fully. I don't need reassurance. Even subtle forms of seeking validation count. Asking friends if a decision is right. Checking news for confirmation. Overanalyzing market trends. All of this signals that you are not internally aligned. Results are everything. Results do not argue, fluctuate, or deceive. They confirm alignment. They are the mirror of your internal state. This is why internal indicators matter more than external hints. Check your feelings. Check your nervous system. Check your clarity. Check your emotional resonance. I don't need reassurance. Waiting for signs is waiting outside of yourself. It shifts power outward. It delays manifestation. It invites frustration. When you remove signs from your process, you reclaim authority. You act from your internal compass. You move with inspiration. You trust without needing validation. Even when progress seems invisible, results are being orchestrated. Your alignment is creating momentum below the surface. External proof may appear suddenly, without warning. I don't need reassurance. This principle also applies to relationships. You may desire love or connection. External hints, likes, comments, gestures, are not proof. Your internal alignment, identity, and inspired actions are what generate the experience. Chasing external affirmation is a form of anxiety. It fractures attention. It weakens conviction. It delays manifestation. Reality delivers in full. It does not hint. It does not tease. It responds to internal coherence. I don't need reassurance. You will learn to recognize subtle impulses, inspired action, calm expectation, emotional generation, and identity congruence. These are the real indicators. External signs are optional noise. Even minor reliance on signs creates hesitation. Let go completely. Anchor internally. Focus entirely on alignment, inspiration, and expectation. Manifestation accelerates when you stop interpreting every random event as a signal. Momentum becomes pure. Actions are decisive. Outcomes appear naturally. I don't need reassurance. This chapter reinforces all prior steps. Clarity, desire, conviction, emotion, visualization, normalization, trust, identity, aligned action, resistance removal, letting go, they all converge here. Internal alignment is sufficient. External validation is irrelevant. Results matter. Signs do not. I don't need reassurance. The universe delivers to alignment, not attention to signs. Manifestation becomes inevitable when you focus on results instead of hints. You now have the tools to act, feel, and exist fully aligned without external confirmation. Internal authority is absolute. Momentum is unstoppable. Next, we learn to maintain this flow indefinitely. Non-stop creation without interruption. Chapter 14. Collapse time through certainty. By now, you've mastered clarity, intrinsic desire, released control, strengthened conviction, generated emotion, simplified visualization, normalized outcomes, stopped checking for evidence, aligned identity, acted from inspiration, removed resistance, let go without giving up, and stopped chasing signs. Now we focus on accelerating the process itself, collapsing time. Time bends when expectation is locked. It does not bend through effort. It bends through certainty. When your mind, body, and emotions operate in full alignment, the perception of waiting disappears. It's done. I'm just walking toward it. Manifestation is not always linear. Events may appear delayed. Opportunities may seem staggered. Yet from the perspective of certainty, nothing is late. Everything is on time because internal alignment already assumes completion. Your mind is the accelerator. When expectation is unwavering, your nervous system signals inevitability. Momentum compounds internally. The universe responds to certainty, not speculation. Think of someone manifesting financial abundance. They may set a goal of $200,000 in a month. Without certainty, they worry about timing, methods, and obstacles. Weeks pass with friction, hesitation, and internal debate. When certainty is adopted, time compresses. The same $200,000 arrives seemingly effortlessly, and often sooner than anticipated. It's done. I'm just walking toward it. This principle applies across all desires: relationships, health, creativity, freedom, and experiences. When certainty is locked, the nervous system behaves as if the desire is already realized. Your behavior, perception, and emotional generation align seamlessly with the end result. Even challenges lose resistance. Delays become signals, not threats. Obstacles become opportunities to reinforce alignment. Time appears to accelerate because internal expectation no longer waits for external validation. Consider a client manifesting freedom from a traditional job. Initially, they worried about timing, logistics, and how everything would unfold. They acted, but with hesitation and split attention. After adopting absolute certainty, anchoring in identity, emotion, and expectation, actions became decisive, inspired, and effortless. The external reality shifted faster than the conscious mind had predicted. It's done. I'm just walking toward it. Repetition reinforces internal alignment. Each affirmation of certainty strengthens your internal blueprint. Each mental rehearsal of inevitable completion signals the subconscious to rewire perception, emotion, and decision-making. Each repetition compounds internal momentum. This is why uncertainty is costly. It slows perception. It fragments energy. It introduces friction that can stretch manifestation unnecessarily. Time is flexible. The universe does not operate on linear schedules. When expectation is locked and identity aligned, events condense. Delays seem shorter. Opportunities arrive sooner. Momentum compounds without interruption. I'm already there. I'm merely walking toward it. This principle also influences inspired action. When certainty is strong, the next step is obvious. It feels light, confident, and magnetic. There is no need to force or overplan. The nervous system signals readiness. The mind recognizes timing. Action flows naturally. Even subtle hesitation slows collapse. Doubt, second-guessing, or checking for signs fragments energy. Certainty demands unwavering internal alignment. Emotion, identity, visualization, and expectation all converge into one coherent state. It's done. I'm just walking toward it. This is why repetition and internal reinforcement matter. Every thought, every emotion, every inspired action is anchored in inevitability. Every day you rehearse certainty, you accelerate the timeline of manifestation. Certainty does not ignore practical steps. It enhances them. It amplifies inspired action. It focuses attention only on what moves alignment forward. It removes distraction, hesitation, and second-guessing. Time collapses because momentum is unbroken. There is no internal resistance. There is no split attention. Energy flows directly from desire to fulfillment. Even long-term goals feel immediate. Distance becomes irrelevant. Obstacles are reframed as signals. Everything aligns with the internal state of inevitability. It's done. I'm just walking toward it. This principle ties all prior chapters together. Clarity, desire, release, conviction, emotion, visualization, normalization, trust, identity, aligned action, resistance removal, letting go, and detachment converge into temporal acceleration. The process becomes seamless, effortless, and inevitable. Every step you take is purposeful. Every thought reinforces completion. Every emotion strengthens alignment. Every inspired action moves you closer, faster, and with ease. Collapse time through certainty. Lock expectation. Trust identity. Anchor emotion. Align action. It's done. I'm just walking toward it. Next, we integrate this fully into daily life, into continuous manifestation without interruption. Chapter 15. Live as if it's inevitable. We have arrived at the culmination of the process. All previous chapters built the foundation: clarity, desire, release, conviction, emotion, simple visualization, normalization, trust, identity, aligned action, resistance removal, letting go, detachment from signs, and certainty that collapses time. Now it is time to integrate it fully into your living reality. Living as if it's inevitable is not an exercise. It is a state of being. It is the embodiment of alignment. It is thinking, feeling, and acting as though the desired reality is already here. Of course this worked. Every thought now reinforces the result. Every emotion vibrates with fulfillment. Every action is effortless because it flows from certainty. The nervous system no longer anticipates struggle. The body moves without tension. The mind recognizes completion. Living as if it's inevitable eliminates effort permanently. You no longer push. You no longer chase. You no longer negotiate with reality. Your alignment becomes your reality. Of course this worked. Consider the process of manifestation you have mastered. Clarity defines the target. Intrinsic desire generates energy. Control is released to allow reality to handle the how. Conviction matches desire. Emotion becomes the engine. Visualization is simple and repeated. Normalization sets expectation. Signs are irrelevant. Action is inspired. Resistance is removed. Letting go removes tension. Certainty collapses time. Now, all these elements converge into one lived experience. You do not need to check the process. You do not need to monitor reality. You exist as the fulfilled version of yourself. Of course, this worked. Every interaction is now aligned. Every decision is made from certainty. Every movement resonates with the outcome. Even challenges are reframed instantly. They are signals to maintain alignment, not obstacles. Living as if it's inevitable changes the internal barometer of manifestation. Doubt disappears. Frustration evaporates. Resistance cannot take root. Momentum is continuous and unstoppable. Of course, this worked. The external world now reflects internal coherence. Your environment adapts. Opportunities appear without forcing. People, situations, and resources align automatically. The universe responds to the energy you radiate. Even subtle doubts no longer penetrate. The baseline state is full expectation, full certainty, full embodiment. Your desire is no longer a goal to reach. It is your current reality expressed through your identity. Of course, this worked. This state integrates every tool previously taught. Clarity ensures no conflict. Desire keeps energy alive. Control release removes friction. Conviction fuels certainty. Emotion powers motion. Visualization reinforces identity. Normalization stabilizes expectation. Signs are ignored, leaving space for reality to operate. Inspired action is the external manifestation of internal alignment. Resistance removal clears blocks. Letting go maintains ease. Certainty collapses time. Living as if it's inevitable merges them all into a seamless, non-stop flow. Of course, this worked. You now operate as the outcome holder. Your presence signals completion. Your mind anticipates fulfillment. Your body carries effortless energy. Your actions are inspired, precise, and magnetic. This is not hypothetical. It is tangible. It is present tense. It is here. Of course, this worked. Life no longer feels like a series of attempts. It is a continuous stream of results. Momentum never stops. Every step reinforces alignment. Every breath vibrates completion. Living as if it's inevitable also future-proofs your manifestation. New desires arise, and the system naturally applies. Momentum compounds. Internal alignment remains unbroken. Of course, this worked. You are no longer a seeker. You are a creator. You are an aligned being living in reality as it already exists. Effort has been replaced by embodiment. Frustration has been replaced by certainty. Waiting has been replaced by action that flows effortlessly. Of course this worked. From this point forward, manifestation is nonstop. Your internal alignment drives external results without interruption. Every thought, emotion, and action continues to reinforce the desired reality. You live fully integrated. Of course this worked. This is the final step. This is the pinnacle of alignment. This is what it means to live as if the outcome is inevitable. Of course this worked. Carry this state into every area of life. Health, wealth, relationships, creativity, freedom, and experience all operate through this integration. You do not need to question. You do not need to doubt. You do not need to chase. You are complete. You are aligned. You are effortless. You are manifestation in motion. Of course this worked. This is the ultimate expression of all you have learned. It is no longer theory. It is now reality. It is now life. In closing, you don't need more techniques. You need consistency of identity. Manifestation is not something you do once. It is something you become. And now, you know the process from beginning to end. You decide. You align emotionally. You release control. You expect results. That's it. No chasing. No forcing. No waiting for permission. The version of you who has what you want is not different. They are simply certain. So here is your challenge. Choose one desire, one outcome, one decision, and for the next 30 days, you live as the person who expects it. You think from it. You feel from it. You move from it. You do not negotiate with doubt. You do not explain your vision. You do not look for signs. You allow reality to reorganize itself around your certainty. Because it will. It always does. This is not about belief anymore. This is about inevitability. And from this moment forward, your life will never respond the same way again. Now go live like it's already done.